Go.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, मैं हूँ अमरीन परवेज़, NLP ट्रेनर एंड अ सक्सेस कोच।
और मैं हूँ हिना जनेजो एंड आई एम अ मैरिज एंड रिलेशनशिप कोच। आज नाजरीन हमारे साथ सहेली के सेट पर मौजूद हैं अज़हर क़यूम साहब, जो कि मेंड के रीजनल मैनेजर हैं। मेंड स्टैंड्स फॉर मुस्लिम इंगेजमेंट एंड डेवलपमेंट। तो इससे प्रिटी मच हमें ज़ाहिर होता है कि जो मेंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है वो मुसलमानों की कम्युनिटी को इंगेज करने के लिए और डेवलप करने के लिए इनिशिएटिव्स लेती है। तो इस हवाले से मज़ीद मालूमात हासिल करने के लिए हम अज़हर भाई से गुफ्तगू करेंगे। अस्सलाम वालेकुम अज़हर भाई।
वालेकुम सलाम रहमतुल्लाह।
कैसे अज़हर भाई आज आप?
Alhamdulillah, good.
Alhamdulillah. Welcome on board, Azhar bhai. So we know that you work with MEND. My first question with you would you be able to, just briefly tell us about the different initiatives that MEND takes place, specifically with relation to, supporting Muslim women engagement, supporting the reverts, and then there's a lot of, going on reference to Islamophobia as well. So I know it's a huge question, a lot of scope, but yeah, if you'd be able to explain that, please.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. MEND, as you said, is Muslim Engagement and Development.
Yeah.
And a lot of our work is around engaging the Muslim community, in upskilling the community in politics and in media, especially in those two areas. And we do a lot of work with the Muslim women and engagement of Muslim women, and again upskilling of Muslim women and ensuring that the narratives around Muslim women are not as skewed as they currently are.
Yeah, very important.
It's really important because there's a nice poem going around at the moment by the Brown Hijabi. If any of you have a look at it, and she's got a number of poetry where she says things along the lines of, I'm not going to repeat the poetry, I'm not up to the standard, but along the lines of, like, you with Muslim in relation to Muslim women, you want us to be seen, i.e. you want our hijab off, and you want us to be but then when we're seen, as in when we come forward and when we take part and we become active, then you want us out of the way because this is entryism by extremists.
But it's also like
these sort of narratives.
It's also like, my experience is that when I started wearing hijab, somehow I wasn't the same person. It was more like kind of, okay, you are wearing hijab, now you are not one of us. It's like us and them all the way. Then I really like the fact that they say that they want to know more about us. They want to lift us up. But when we start talking, and if we talk about our values and we stand out, it's more like you are brainwashed. What's your experience with that?
This is the type of thing. I'll come to MEND in a bit, but this is good because actually these are the sort of narratives which the Muslim community is framed around. So if you are if you put yourself to one side and you don't get involved in the public sphere, then we are accused of being like ghettoized and excluding ourselves and not being involved in society. But if you become involved in society and you become politically aware and you become involved in the media and politics and stuff, suddenly there's talk about entryism. And these people, they're trying to take over. So you had the whole Trojan horse schools thing in Birmingham, where you had many Muslims who advanced themselves and became headmasters and deputy headmasters and head of departments in schools and stuff in Birmingham. And this was at one point seen as, oh my God, these Muslims are taking over. So they were removed.
It's more like creates the fear in the society.
And this is the thing. So this is what MEND is about, ensuring that the narratives around Muslims are fair and just. We're not asking for something extra. We're not asking for something that anyone else doesn't have. Just have fair narratives around Islam and Muslims. Tell the truth. Let Muslims tell their own stories. Let them be in the media. Let Muslims represent themselves in politics rather than necessarily always being represented by others. And in terms of, you asked the question about Muslim women and about reverts and all of these sort of things. So here in Birmingham and throughout the country, MEND does a lot of work with Muslim women. So recently we had International Women's Day. Up and down the country as an organization, we held events with Muslim women on on International Women's Day. Here in Birmingham, we had a really nice event, which you yourself spoke at, actually, alongside as a life coach, and alongside Salma Yaqub, political activist, and we had Rose Brown from the Unison Union who came and spoke as well. And it was a really nice event, showcasing Muslim women and non-Muslim women. In that Rose was there as well, and showing how women are making it in society despite all of the barriers and these things. And that was nice, and then there was a little meal at the end and stuff.
Yeah, it was a lovely event.
Nice event. So we've previously had a number of events, for example, where we've asked Muslim, because unfortunately, when it comes to hate crime, Muslim women are disproportionately affected, because once they can be spotted as Muslim, because a lot of women wearing hijab, so it can be seen that they're women. And secondly, because a lot of these people who do hate crimes, they're chickens, and they see a woman as a softer target, unfortunately. So they might see a woman alone somewhere and attack her, whereas if they saw a larger man, they might not be as inclined to attack him as it were. So unfortunately, Muslim women are disproportionately the victims of hate crime. So we do a number of events. So for example, we had in Walsall a little while back an event where we asked women to come to the event, and it was a women's only event held by our then head of Islamophobia response unit that we have within the organization, Huma. Where they were not just only awareness, but come to report the incidences that had occurred with them as well, and to talk to each other about the sort of experiences that they had and these type of things. So, and we do a lot of that type of work, awareness, upskilling. We hold media and politics masterclasses, which last for 4 hours each. We hold them for free. We don't ever charge for our programs, and we hold them across the country in mosques, in Islamic centers, at women's centers, so that people learn those skills to be able to tackle the media and engage with the media, and to be able to become more politically aware, lobby better, these type of things.
I mean, I've attended your Causes and Cures workshop, and that was my first experience of interacting with MEND. And after that, I feel that it was so comprehensive and light at the same time, that it has given me a deeper insight into all the things that you were discussing about earlier. And I was completely like at a platform or at a level whereby I had no clue whatsoever of what Islamophobia really meant, and I couldn't even identify, like, for example, I'm driving down on the roads, and then somebody would just for no reason try to have a road rage with me, try to have a race against me, try to honk the horn at me. I wouldn't realize why that's happening, but then over the period, especially after I attended your CNC, I realized that maybe this does have a link with Islamophobia, because if they see some woman wearing a hijab and driving and fearlessly out there on the road, as I am myself, they would try to target you. They wouldn't fathom the fact that how has this person even got the right to be on the roads, for that matter. So I couldn't, it was very difficult for me to initially identify whether this can be categorized as a lighter form of Islamophobia or not, or maybe it's just one of those things whereby because I'm a woman, I'm being victimized by some male. So what do you think then, Azhar Bhai, how can anybody identify different forms of Islamophobia, if you like?
Okay, I mean, firstly, and we were speaking earlier about this as well, I think it's important to define what Islamophobia is. And we tend to work with the type of definition that comes in 3 parts. So, firstly, what does Islamophobia generally look like? What is it? So Islamophobia is an irrational, exaggerated fear of Islam and Muslims. Fear and hatred of Islam and Muslims. Irrational and exaggerated. And we say Islam and Muslims. Some people try to seclude it to a hate of Islam or a fear of, a hate of Muslims or a fear of Muslims. Actually, it's an irrational fear and hatred of Islam and Muslims. Because, look, people can critique Islam, the religion, no problem. They can criticize it. If people are non-Muslims, that means they don't believe in the religion. So, of course, they have critique and criticism, and this will carry on through time. It's not an issue. It's not a problem. Any religion can be criticized, can be debated, can be discussed, and these things. It's hate that we're talking about. Why would anybody have hate for a world religion? And that hate, and a lot of research has shown that the hate of Islam then translates into hate of Muslims and attacks on Muslims. So this irrational, exaggerated hate and fear of Islam and Muslims, which is then we look at where it comes from, which is perpetuated by negative stereotypes.
Absolutely. And I, like, when I wrote my master's thesis, is I also touch upon the media, because media, when they write about Muslims, is very negative. It's like if a Muslim do something bad, it's like Muslim terrorism, radicalism, fundamentalism. But if a white person do the same act, it's more like lonely wolf. You feel a kind of sympathy, and you read the media, the news, it's like no sympathy. And media got a lot of power because it's one-way communication. You sit there, and the media will, you know, throw a lot of the information. And just think about those people who don't interact with Muslims. They are just sitting there, listening to the media, getting everything from the media, and when they see a Muslim woman wearing hijab, they see that maybe as a target. Not all of them, obviously, but some of them.
I totally agree with you. And the majority of British Muslims, for example, live in just a few cities in the UK. So Birmingham, Bradford, Manchester, London. And they live in just a few areas of those cities. We make up less than 5% of the population of this country. 80% of white people live in what can be described as white ghettos in this country, i.e. they live in white-only areas. So they will not come in day-to-day contact with ethnic minorities in general, and specifically Muslims. So their news that most people in the British population get about Islam and Muslims won't be from the day-to-day interaction with real Muslims. It's going to come from the media. So what the media feeds is very important.
क्योंकि वही दिमाग पे फिर असर करती है ना बात. अगरचे कि आप घर से बाहर नहीं निकलते, वैसे भी हम एथनिक माइनॉरिटीज़ हैं, तो डे टू डे लाइफ में हमारा कोई इंटरेक्शन तो इनके साथ होना नहीं है. तो फिर ये सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन और नेगेटिव स्टेरियोटाइप, नेगेटिव इन्फॉर्मेशन हमें आम आवाम को कहाँ से मिलती है? जाहिर सी बात है कि आप जो है वो अखबार पढ़ते हैं, आप न्यूज़ देखते हैं, या आप आर्टिकल्स पढ़ते हैं, जिस किस्म की तस्वीरें उस पर छापी हुई होती हैं, वही चीज़ है कि जो कि आप कॉन्स्टेंटली रिपीटेड बेसिस पे देखते हैं और सुनते हैं, वही चीज़ आपके जहन में बैठ जाती है, और फिर आपका बिलीफ सिस्टम जो है उसी के मुताबिक ट्यून इन होने शुरू हो जाता है.
ये दोनों साइड पे जाता है, because Muslims, they have their own fear. Like if you ask some Muslims to move to a white area, they will say no, ideal, or that. I feel like there is fear from both sides. So do you work on that, based on that?
I mean, the thing is, if you look at it, communities tend to live where they feel comfortable, where they have amenities that respond to them, that work for them. So Muslims will live close to masajids, they will live close to their families and things like this. So I'm not blaming white people for living in white-only areas. I'm not blaming Muslims for living in Muslim-only areas, etc. I do think that there should be more interaction. When I grew up, there were more mixed areas, and I think there should be more of that, and I would encourage that always. There should be much more interaction between communities. But I'm not blaming anybody for that. But my point so partially there was that Muslims get blamed for that. Other communities don't. But it's not always the Muslims that are responsible for it. So, for example, when there is Muslims who live in a particular area, or ethnic minorities in general, sometimes you get white flight, where white people leave the area. Now, that's not the fault of the ethnic minority or the Muslims or whoever else is living in that area. It's and maybe it's not the fault of the people who are leaving. Maybe they're going to a more affluent area. Maybe they're going into the suburbs or the country or whatever. So it's the blame game that's the problem a lot of the time on these type of things.
It's like either you're with us or against us. Especially
or just one of those things whereby they say, you see, birds of a feather flock together. बहुत पुरानी कहावत है, but I think अभी तक वो चल रही है. तो हो सकता है कि लोग जो हैं वो अपनी कम्युनिटी के साथ उठने बैठने, खाने पीने में ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल महसूस करते हों. तो जहाँ फिर ऐसे इलाके आ जाते हैं कि जहाँ पर हमारी माइनॉरिटी जो है वो ज़्यादा डोमिनेट करने लगे, तो हो सकता है कि वाइट लोग जो हैं वो अनकंफर्टेबल फील करते होंगे, और फिर वो शिफ्ट करना चाहते होंगे, मूव आउट करना चाहते होंगे ऐसे इलाकों में जहाँ पे उनको अपने जैसे लोग मिले, ताकि उनके लिए भी वो एक कंफर्ट जोन बन जाएगा.
Partially, but I think, for example, in a city like Birmingham, we've had waves of migration. This city, Birmingham, is a 100-year-old city. It's been built on immigration. It started off as a small town and a village, and a very, very small town before that. Now, so we had European persecuted immigration who came here first. Then we had Jews who came here. We had Irish immigration when there was famine and difficulty in Ireland. Then we had Caribbean and Pakistani and Bengali immigration. Then we had Somali and Syrian and Iraqi immigration. And now we're getting Polish, Albanian, Romanian, Bulgarian, Czech immigration. Birmingham is a city that's been built on immigration. And when you look at the city and where people are, what happens is new immigrants, when they come to Birmingham, they come to the central areas of Birmingham. Why? The houses are smaller, they're cheaper. It's easily accessible to jobs within the city centre and within the factory areas, and so and because these areas are normally have not had issues with racism and things like this. But what happens? As those communities come, they settle, they become wealthier, they want to move out to the nicer, bigger houses. They want to go to Moseley and they want to go to Edgbaston, they want to go to Handsworth Wood and they want to go to Solihull and they want to, just like the previous. So what happened was the previous white population in the inner city made up of Irish and other immigrants previously and people who are here for longer term. As they moved out, when new immigrants came in, they filled those spaces. Now, this was debated about 10 years ago and I said to people at the time, watch, when the next non-Muslim or non-Asian or black immigration comes, they will take over these areas. And I give you two examples. Vincent Green and Bordesley Green.
Right.
Two predominantly Asian areas previously, now are mostly, and Handsworth to some extent as well, are now Romanians and Bulgarians, white, Christian, Europeans living in those areas who moved into and what's happened to those Pakistanis and Bengalis who lived in those areas?
They moved out.
They've moved on, So the Muslim population of Bordesley Green, for example, most of them have moved on to Stetchford, to Hodge Hill and to those areas. And now what's happened is newer immigration. So, the fact that we have these ghettos and things like this, there is a reason for them. There are financial reasons for them. There are reasons to do with immigration. There are reasons to do with socio-economic factors and things. It's not that as a community we decided we're going to ghettoize ourselves from everybody else. But this is where we're coming to the negative stereotyping. So if we come back to the definition, Islamophobia is this irrational, exaggerated fear and hatred of Islam and Muslims, perpetuated by negative stereotypes, including in the media, including from politicians. When Boris Johnson talked about Muslim women who wear niqab and talked about bank robbers and letterboxes, those type of stereotypes. And then what we say is it results in something. What does it result in? It results in marginalization of Muslims from civic, from public life, from political life, from the media, from all these places. So again, I give you the example of Trojan horse. When that media narrative came in that these Muslims are taking over, they're going to indoctrinate children and these things. What happened? It marginalized. So it removed 15 people, teachers from the education system, mostly Muslim, got rid of them, dumped them. They later won court cases and things and got those bans revoked, but they never went back into teaching. So what happened? The Muslims get removed. You get replaced by people who are maybe from outside of the area, maybe don't understand those children as well. And now 4 years later, you've got demonstrations on the streets of Birmingham at Parkfield and Anderson Park and other places. Why? Because the Muslim parents now feel they are disenfranchised. They feel that previously teachers would listen to them, would talk to them, would interact with them, would make decisions collectively. And now that they are having stuff forced on top of them. So when you remove the Muslim voice from the decision making, what happens is the decisions become very difficult for Muslims, for the Muslim community to then, the decisions that are made about them and their children become very difficult for them to accept because they were never part of that process.
एक तरफ जो है वो हम डाइवर्सिटी को प्रमोट कर रहे होते हैं और दूसरी तरफ जो है वो हम आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके जो है वो पैर मुसलमानों के काट रहे हैं. लाजमी सी बात है कि बच्चे पेरेंट्स जब अपने बच्चों को स्कूल में भेजेंगे तो ये उनका राइट है कि वो बच्चों की प्रोग्रेस के हवाले से अप टू डेट रहना चाहेंगे. और फिर हर कल्चर का जो है वो एक अपनी लिमिटेशंस होती हैं. तो बेस्ट होता है कि अगर आप किसी टीचर के पास चले जाएं कि जो कि आपके कल्चरल बैकग्राउंड को बिलोंग करता है या सेम रिलीजियस फेथ को भी अगर बिलोंग करता है तो वहाँ पे फिर एक कॉमन नैरेटिव आपके पास मौजूद हो जाता है ना, जिसके हवाले से आप एक दूसरे के साथ रिलेट कर सकते हैं. तो फिर आपकी कम्युनिकेशन के हवाले से आप थोड़े कंफर्टेबल हो जाते हैं बात करने के लिए, अपने बच्चों की प्रोग्रेस के हवाले से पूछने के लिए. बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
And I think the history is repeating again because what happened after World War, Second World War, is like what happened with Jewish is actually happening with the Muslims, but not many people talk about that. कि जो anti-Semitism हुआ था वो इस्लामोफोबिया के सूरत में अब आजकल हो रहा है क्योंकि मीडिया ने तब Jewish के बारे में इमेज बना के पेश किए थे और इस तरह बातें की थी.
Many of the media images about Muslims are based on the stereotypes of Muslims. So, for example, if you look at the Muslim are almost taken from the book of Goebbels, who did all the famous Nazi propagandist, who did all this propaganda against the Jews before the Second World War. Very similar images are being produced in our media today about Muslims.
But this time we are using the freedom of speech that is
and they
like
use it then. In the 1930s, people would say this is freedom of speech. This is all these things, and it's very, very similar argumentation. But what happens is this is pushing and marginalizing communities, and what it then results in is that some people see all of this and they decide that, you know what, let's take it further. So you start getting violence against Muslims. So we had the famous story here in Birmingham, really sad story of Uncle Muhammad Salim from Green Lane Masjid, who was murdered on the streets of Birmingham by Lapshin, who is a person who flew into Birmingham simply to commit terrorist atrocities against the Muslim community here. And this 82-year-old grandfather, minding his own business, coming home from Isha Salah, and gets murdered in the streets of Birmingham. But one thing a lot of people don't know, some people know that story, many people still unfortunately don't, is that actually the guy who did this also placed 3 bombs outside masjids around Birmingham.
Wow, subhanallah.
A lot of people don't even know that.
There was one. It's the first time I'm hearing that.
I visited Masjid Aisha in Walsall about 2 weeks ago, and I gave a lecture there. One of the masjids that the bomb was placed outside was Masjid Aisha. And actually this was the one that exploded, the one outside Masjid Aisha. Now it was a nail bomb, it exploded. Alhamdulillah, nobody was there at the time, so it didn't injure anyone. So a nail bomb is normally packed with nails. When they explode, the nails go everywhere. Can you imagine exploding nails and the damage that they could do? But alhamdulillah, it didn't injure anyone. So I was in Masjid Aisha, there was an audience of over 100 people there. And I asked them if they knew about the story of Muhammad Salim, and 1 or 2, 3 or 4 did. Then I asked them about what else happened. Now they didn't know that 100 people in the masjid didn't know that their own masjid had been had a bomb placed outside. So this is again to do with media and not picking up the story, not picking up the narrative. When it's to do with Muslims and Islam and these type of things. And this is one of the things that we as an organization do. We do a lot of stuff with media. We do a lot of stuff with putting out stories, positive engagement with it. There's one thing is to complain when the media tells lies, but it's the positive engagement. We really go out there, find the journalists who are willing to engage with you positively and give them the positive stories. Almost every day of the week, Muslims are feeding the homeless in Birmingham city centre.
I saw I think it was BBC documentary that one brother, he was paying for other people and then he was explaining. It was such a beautiful story. He was like, "Can I pay for you?" And they were like, "Why?" They were like, "Because it's Ramadan and I'm fasting. I want to do an act of."
These stories are not told. Almost every Ramadan, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times in Ramadan with friends, normally 8 or 9 or 10 friends. What we'll do is in the last 10 nights after we've done Trawee and then Qiyamul Layl, we'll go and we finish Qiyamul Layl. So maybe 2 or 3 times we'll go and we'll have suhoor at one of the restaurants on Ladypool Road. Just a couple of years back, we went and there was 8 or 9 of us, and there was 5 or 6 other groups of 8 or 9 people. Very similarly, nobody's eating at that time unless they've come from Qiyamul Layl from a masjid or something. Similarly, and we ate. And we go to pay, and they said, "Oh no, the group that left before you paid for you. We don't know who they are. We didn't speak to them. We never met them before.
That's the beauty of Islam.
This is the thing.
That's the beauty.
And then there was other people, so we paid for the next group.
That's how the kindness is going on.
These are the stories about Islam that are not out there.
These
not
being
projected. Stories.
So what can we as a Muslim do to have to do that this story can come out in the media?
I remember that Mend had collaborated with the Tent Project just very recently, and you'd covered 3 nights, whereby people from all faith and no faith whatsoever came together under the same roof, and उन्होंने जो है वो अपनी अफ्तार इकट्ठे की है. तो ये एक बड़ा बेहतरीन इनिशिएटिव था Mend का कोलैबोरेट करने वाला. उसके हवाले से थोड़ा बताइए.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, the Ramadan Tent Project, Open Iftar, has been going on for a number of years, and it's the 2nd year in a row that we've actually sponsored the event as well. We've been one of the key sponsors, and we had a stall there, and every night we spoke there, and it was a beautiful project.
इस मरतबा तो बल्कि मेरे ख्याल में उन्होंने बहुत ज़्यादा बेहतर कर दिया. सॉरी आपको काट रही हूँ. जो वीडियोस वगैरह हमने देखी ऑनलाइन और जो तस्वीरें देखी उसमें जो है वो नशीद भी उन्होंने पढ़ी है, और ओपन माइक पोइट्री जो है वो भी बच्चियों ने और बच्चों ने जो है वो पढ़ी है। फिर माशाल्लाह इट वाज बाहर आप लोगों ने मैदान के अंदर, गार्डन के अंदर जो है वो नमाज भी पढ़ी है ओपन एयर, उसके बाद आके बेहतरीन आप लोगों ने खाना भी खाया है, तो बड़ा खूबसूरत एक समा था।
And I think we should have more of this kind of initiatives so that non-Muslims, they can come to these gatherings.
This was the point, and non-Muslims were there. People non-Muslims came from as far afield as Solihull to attend this thing. Wow. So we had Muslims, non-Muslims, joint iftari. On one night, Andrew Smith, the interfaith advisor to the Bishop of Birmingham, was there. We had representatives from St. Chad's Cathedral. You know, in some of the cities, Sikh community, Hindu community, and others came and you know gave talks, and we all spoke about how eating together is such a important thing. And you know, we were talking about ghettoization.
That's beautiful, like, you know, that the communities can come together and do something.
Yeah,
like
and it's just not about breaking a bread together. You know, there's much more to it. Sitting side by side to each other, एक दूसरे से जान पहचान, एक दूसरे के साथ वाकफियत करनी, पता लगाना कि you know आप किस बैकग्राउंड से हवाला रखते हैं, आप किस बैकग्राउंड से हवाला रखते हैं, और फिर एक दूसरे को अपने कल्चर, अपने बैकग्राउंड के हवाले से आगाही देनी कि ताकि एक न्यूट्रल अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो, एक म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट डेवलप हो एक दूसरे के कल्चर के लिए, एक दूसरे की रेस के लिए, एक दूसरे के मजहब के लिए। तो इस किस्म के इनिशिएटिव जो हैं ये बेतहाशा बेहतर रहेंगे और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा करने चाहिए।
Very important, really important. And this is the thing. I mean, our biggest project this year is going to be, inshallah, the Losing My Religion conference, which is coming up. And for that, you know, again, is to really try to get large numbers of the Muslim community, hopefully hundreds, if not thousands, inshallah, together to really discuss Islamophobia, to discuss living as a Muslim in the West, you know, the challenges and these sort of things. And we've got people like Sheikh Yasir Qadi from the USA, Linda Sarsour from New York, who's a famous Muslim activist from New York, and even, you know, Salma Yaqub, the activist from Birmingham, and Sheikh Zahir Mahmood and others coming together. A big lineup of lots of people, and you know, people can learn more about that on the website. It's www.lmrc.uk. That's LMRC, the letters.uk, and that's the type of thing that we try to do. Small events and big events to get the Muslim community to understand about Islamophobia, how it affects them and how they can challenge it. And then lots of events with non-Muslims. We recently had an event in Leicester where we had interfaith event. We had somebody from the Buddhist community, we had a Hindu speaker, we had Sikh speaker, we had a couple of different Christian denominations speaking on the day, and we had Maulana Taqir Isaaq speaking on behalf of the Muslim community, and it was a really nice event. Where there was a large crowd. It was held in City Retreat, which is a city centre masjid in the middle of Leicester. And it was again an opportunity for people of different faiths to come together, to understand each other, to try to remove some of these misunderstandings and misgivings. Because look, majority of people are not that. Majority of people are not Islamophobic. Majority of people don't have a grudge against you. But what's happening is that they are being pushed in that direction by these narratives coming from the media, coming from some politicians, you know, coming from some campaigners, and you know, people like Tommy Robinson. You know, his name is Yaxley Lennon, but you know, he calls himself Tommy Robinson, and these people who, you know, going on the streets, demonstrating, coming on TV and other things, and saying things about Islam and Muslims that are just not true. So they will take Quranic ayat and take it out of context. So what we need to do is, as Muslims, is challenge those narratives. Meet with the people, tell them who we are, show them what we are, show them that this is us. You know, we are human beings like everyone else. Yes, we will have people amongst our community who commit crimes, like in any community. You know, we will have people who do commit atrocities at times, like any community. You know,
मगर फिर उसका खुमियाजा हमें being Muslim ज़्यादा भुगतना पड़ता है, because अगर हमने कोई काम गलत किया तो वो तो फिर जो है वो एक टेररिज्म का उसको लेबल या टाइटल दे दिया जाएगा. However, अगर किसी और ने वही काम किया है तो उसको फिर आप मेंटल हेल्थ के साथ एसोसिएट कर देते हैं. हालांकि कोई और रेस भी वही गलत काम करेगी जो कि मुसलमान ने कर दिया, मगर उसका खुमियाजा मुसलमान हमेशा ज़्यादा भुगतते हैं एज अपोज्ड टू किसी और रेस के.
In Sri Lanka, a few weeks during Easter, there was terrible terrorist atrocity where we are told that a number of Muslims bombed and attacked churches, and it was terrible. It was horrible. It was all over the news, and myself included. We all condemned it and said it was wrong, and you can't accept innocent loss of lives ever. Since then, there has been 9 mosques in Sri Lanka that have been destroyed. Just yesterday, 3 Muslims were killed. 30 villages attacked. Large mobs attacking Muslim villages, houses, mosques and stuff. Did you see it on the news?
No. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's
and
really sad.
I didn't see it.
It wasn't on the news to the same extent. You know, the people who are perpetrating that are not being called terrorists. The people who are attacking the mosques are not being called terrorists. The people who are, the mobs, they might be called mobs, they might be called this, that, but they are not being called terrorists. And why is it that that label is only attached to the
Muslims?
To the Muslim. So we had the situation in Leicester where Paul Moore, a non-Muslim white British man, drove his car around early in the morning, September 2017, and was driving around looking for Muslims to kill. And he attacked a Muslim schoolgirl, tried to hit her. Alhamdulillah, she survived and jumped out of the way. And then he saw this sister, Zainab Hussain. She is a mother from Leicester, of Somali origin, who was working full-time, was running a charity at the time as well. As a part-time, she was running a charity that was helping local women and stuff, a real, asset to the community of Leicester. Her one daughter was doing a master's at Leicester University. They were real, this family, the whole family was an asset to the community. Now, this Paul Moore, he drove his car, and he drove onto the curb and he hit Zainab Hussain from behind. And then he drove up the road and turned his car around and came back. And while she was lying on the floor with broken legs and stuff because she couldn't move, he drove over the middle of her body with 2 wheels. And, he broke her pelvis, leg bones, arms. To this day, she can't sit up. She's lying back. And she leaves the house in ambulance and comes back to the house in ambulance.
And it's associated with mental health.
No, not mental health, but initially, they didn't call it a hate crime. For the first 10 or 12 days, it wasn't reported in the media. It was reported as a collision. Men got involved, and we spoke to the police, and they said to us, okay, we're treating it as a hate crime. Okay, and it was prosecuted as a hate crime. Attempted murder, religiously aggravated attempted murder. So a hate crime. It wasn't called in the media once. So we pushed it, and then alhamdulillah, lots of media reported it after we did press releases on it. We went and spoke to journalists from BBC, ITV, others, and we got a lot of reporting on it. Much more than otherwise. But it was like 10 and 20 and 30 days later. Not on the day of the event. But it was never called terrorism.
Terrorism.
Why is that word terrorism reserved for when Muslims do things?
That's my question to you.
You tell us why is it always like that?
The masters in Islamophobia here.
I feel like, especially after 9/11, that totally the enemy picture changed, because before that it was Soviet Union, but after 9/11 it was always all the focus was on Muslims, and more about Al-Qaeda, terrorism, and then fundamentalism and conservative Muslims, and then you find liberal Muslims. So we got all these different labels. So
you're actually giving me some of the talk titles from our conference. That's coming up. These are the exact things that we're going to be looking at. Moderate Muslim, liberal Muslim. Fundamentalist Muslim.
What are those Muslims?
Nothing. It's just a way of labeling people. We should refuse these labels. We are Muslim.
We are Muslim. That's it. And we are like British Muslims, because sometimes, it's more as you said, when our parents immigrated to the European countries, it's more like they came here as a guest workers. The intention was to earn money, send back, and return back. But then through family reunion, the wives came, the kids came, and then their focus was, okay, we will just send our kids to the madrasa, to the masjid. They will grow up. We will just give them education. That's it. But we, as a second generation, third or fourth generation, we are like, okay, we are not guest workers. We are British Muslims or European Muslims or Norwegian Muslims. We are born and raised up here. This is our community. This is our country. This is our haq to demand our rights. It's therefore I feel like there is a different between the first generation and second generation, because first generation, they were very grateful. They accepted everything. While second generation or third or fourth generation, we are more like we are demanding things as the other in the community. We are a part of the community.
And we are not a part of this community as just, people who came in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s or the 90s. Look, Islam, Muslims and the Muslim community have a very long history with Britain. It's not that we turned up in 1960 or 1950 or something like this. There was 300,000 Muslim soldiers who fought with the Allies in the Western Front in the First World War. Take that number in. 300,000.
Wow.
Muslim soldiers fighting for Britain and France against the Germans.
Absolutely.
There was hundreds of thousands of Muslim soldiers who fought for Britain in North Africa, who fought for Britain against the Nazis in Europe, who fought for Britain against the Japanese in Burma and these places. This is a long history of the Muslim community. And then when after the World War, the Second World War, when lots of British people had died, when Britain was coming back on its feet, when it wanted to establish a national health service, when its factories wanted workers again because so many people had lost their lives in the war, that's when people came here. They didn't. Majority of British Muslims didn't come here as refugees and like this. They were invited here to become doctors in the NHS, to become nurses in the NHS.
अभी भी मेरे ख्याल में अगर आप स्टैट्स देखें तो NHS में मेजॉरिटी जो है वो हमारे एजेंट्स के मुसलमानों की. तो अज़हर भाई अब मुझे ये बताइए कि इस्लामोफोबिया जो है इसके कॉजेज़ की तो हवाले से हमने बात कर ली, मगर अब अगर हम इसके क्योर्स के ऊपर टच अपॉन करें तो आप क्या बताना चाहेंगे IRU के हवाले से, स्पेशली जो आपका इस्लामोफोबिया रिपोर्टिंग यूनिट है, कि अगर कोई विक्टिमाइज होता है तो फर्स्ट पॉइंट ऑफ कांटेक्ट क्या होना चाहिए? एक तो वो चीज़, और दूसरा ये भी समझने की बात है कि जब इस्लामोफोबिया होता है आप उसको कैसे डिफ़ाइन करेंगे कि ये इस्लामोफोबिया के ज़मरे में फॉल इनटू करता है कि नहीं करता, उस कैटेगरी में फॉल इनटू करता है कि नहीं करता, बिकॉज इट्स बेस्ड ऑन इंटेंशन, इजंट इट? और वो फिर मेरे ख्याल में लीगली एक फ्रेमवर्क में कवर्ड भी नहीं है.
अच्छा, so with Islamophobia there is a number of cures. Number one, आपने हवाला दिया है, this important one, IRU. Not just IRU but reporting, full stop. So if you have Islamophobic abuse, I give talks across the country. I give them all over the East Midlands especially. Whenever I give a talk, sometimes 50 Muslims, 100, 200, 500 Muslims sitting in front of me, I always ask the question, did you have any type of Islamophobic attack against you? Did someone spit at you, hit you, swear at you, pull your hijab? Any of these type of Islamophobic attacks? And normally if it's women, about 70% put their hand up. If it's mixed audience, maybe sort of 30, 40, 50% put their hand up. Sometimes, like I did a talk to a group of school children and everybody put their hand up. I was just in Birmingham.
Wow,
Would
that's
you
shocking.
believe, in Birmingham. And this was in Sheldon, which is majority non-Muslim area. Now, then I asked the second question. Keep your hand up, I said. Now I said, let your hand remain up if you reported it to the police. Everybody puts their hand up. 1, 2 sometimes. My anecdotal own evidence from that continuous asking the same question is that people just don't report. And this is the thing. Number one, report it. You may say, oh, the police won't do anything about it. This is not going to be, it's not. It's just going to be ignored. Look, firstly, the police will do something about it, inshallah, and we have to hope and push and make sure that they do. And we chase them and we push them and we talk to them and we make sure. Even if they don't, even if they can't find the perpetrator, even if nothing can be done, it adds to the statistics.
Absolutely.
So that people know the level of Islamophobia is increasing. And because police forces are now reporting Islamophobia as a separate hate crime consistently since 2015, we are now getting consistent figures of Islamophobia. So, for example, since 2011, it's gone up by over 400%.
Wow.
That's huge. Last 3 years in a row, hate crime has gone up in excess of 30%.
People are reporting it more.
Not just reporting, but because
it's happening more.
So, for example, in this last year, there was a 40% increase in hate crime. And of hate crime, which is religiously motivated, 52% is against Muslims. So, we make up about 4.4% of the population. So less than 5%. Yet 52% of religiously motivated hate crime is against Muslims. So the rest of it, 48%, less than half, is against all other religions. Hindus, Sikhs, Jews, Christians, everybody. 48% and 52% just against Muslims.
Wow,
So
that's a huge number.
it's huge. And the thing is, sometimes if you look at the media and the way they report, you would think that other types of religiously motivated hate crimes are the main problem in society. Whereas actually the biggest religiously motivated hate crime, according to the police and the Home Office, not according to us or other Muslim organizations, is Islamophobia. And it is a serious, serious problem and a growing problem in society, and we need to deal with it. So number one, report it. Always report. No matter how minor, however you feel that you were strong and you dealt with it and stuff, report it. You know, you must report again and again and again and again. One, report to the police. Secondly, report to us. So we have something called the Islamophobia Response Unit within MEND. Our website is mend.org.uk. You can go on there. You can find the Islamophobia Response Unit. And you can report directly to the Islamophobia Response Unit. There is a phone number and there is also the website. So go on there, report to them as well. And what will happen is the Islamophobia Response Unit, if it's a hate crime, they will help you with the police chase up, take the police log, make sure it's being taken seriously and these things. If it's not a hate crime and it's discrimination, like you might have been discriminated against work, at school or something like this, then what we'll do is we will try to take up your case to try to get you compensation or to get reinstatement and these things. So recently we had like £8,000 or £9,000 compensation for a number of women who were discriminated against, you know, in the workplace and these sort of things. So those are important. Number one, reporting. Number two is that we need to, as a community, start involving ourselves more in the places where decisions are made.
Right,
People are currently deciding for us.
We're more like, no.
So why aren't more Muslims involved in politics? And sometimes we look at a few Muslim councillors in our area and we think, oh yeah, we're all very politically aware. Actually, we're not. You know, according to our percentage in the population, we should have 32 Muslim MPs. We have 15 Muslim MPs.
We are more interested in the politics in Pakistan rather than here.
मतलब चाय के कप के ऊपर बैठ के अपने लाउंज के अंदर कंफर्टेबली आप जो है वो न्यूज़ वॉच करें और अवेयरनेस अपने क्रिएट करें, वो एक डिफरेंट चीज़ है एज अपोज टू कि आप जो है वो पार्टिसिपेट भी करें पॉलिसी मेकिंग में, डिसीजन मेकिंग में. तो उसमें फिर ये है कि हमारा मुसलमानों का एक जो हवाला है, एक पर्सपेक्ट है, वो भी इंक्लूड हो जाएगा ना. मतलब अगर हम खुद अपने हवाले से बात नहीं करेंगे अपने बेनिफिट की, तो फिर कोई और हमारे लिए क्यों परवाह करेगा.
So we should have at least 32 Muslim MPs. Like I said, we have 50. We should have so many more Muslim lords in the House of Lords, lords and ladies. We should have more Muslim councillors. And then on top of that, the media. You know, everybody, you know, when the children go to school and university, they want them to become doctors.
Doctors or lawyers or engineers.
Maybe engineers sometimes, you know, if they fail the medicine exams.
We call it Ali. They want them to become Ali.
पाकिस्तान में तो ऐसा ही है कि स्टैंडर्ड है, आप डॉक्टर बनना है या इंजीनियर बनना है. अगर लड़की है स्पेसिफिकली थोड़े से ज़रा आज़ाद ख्याल हो या ज़रा ज़्यादा पढ़े लिखे तो कहेंगे कि जी आपने डॉक्टर बनना है क्योंकि इससे आपको वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस मिलेगी और एक ये एक रिस्पेक्टेबल पेशा है.
Though there's no work-life balance for a doctor, none whatsoever.
मगर पाकिस्तान में जब आप रहेंगे तो वो आपका अक्रॉस द बोर्ड यही एक माइंडसेट है कि अगर लड़की है तो उसके लिए एक बाइज्जत प्रोफेशन है और वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस मिल जाएगी कि अगर वो डॉक्टर बन जाती है और लड़का है तो इंजीनियरिंग की तरफ.
The thing I wanted to say on this is, but no. Why don't you push them to go into the media?
बिल्कुल.
That media that tells lies about you all day. If you have Muslim editors in the editorial room, if you have Muslim producers in the TV studios, if you have Muslim presenters on the TV front, you know when that newsroom sits down to make the decision about its news for the day, and somebody picks up some lie about Muslims and says we're going to tell this, that Muslim in the newsroom, before it ever becomes news, can say actually that's a lie.
Absolutely.
That's not true.
We need to step up.
That's not my religion.
Absolutely.
So, and I feel like therefore it's so important that we also create this awareness among the parents, because अगर उनकी ज़हनियत यही है कि चलो डॉक्टर बनना है, लॉयर बनना है या फिर इंजीनियर में जाना है, तो हमें ये awareness create करनी चाहिए कि we should go in every field, क्योंकि हर जगह हमें मुसलमानों की ज़रूरत है.
Civil service.
बिल्कुल.
We talked about politics. Only 20-30 people चलो MPs बन जाएंगे. We need that. It's important. But you know, the one MP, how many civil servants are working with him? One minister, how many civil servants are working with him? Why are we not going into civil service? Local civil service, working in the council as council officers, and also nationally going into the civil service. Really important.
बहुत important है.
You know, you were talking about Izzatdar professions and like this. You know, these are very prestigious professions. Good pay, prestige, honor, all these things, and influence.
मगर फिर उसके साथ जो है वो खातून अगर इन सारे प्रोफेशंस में जाएगी तो एम्पावर भी तो हो जाएगी ना अजहर भाई। फिर अब उस चीज़ को कौन संभालेगा कि हमारी खातून जो है वो हमारे हाथों से निकलती जा रही है,
इसीलिए ज़रूरी है कि
एम्पावर्ड होती जा रही है, उनको घर बैठा दो, उनको डॉक्टर बना दो। दैट्स हाउ फार वी कैन गो कल्चरली। बट थैंक यू वेरी मच अजहर भाई टू कम ऑन बोर्ड एंड शेयर सच वैल्यूएबल इंफॉर्मेशन रिगार्डिंग इस्लामोफोबिया एंड द कॉन्सेप्ट। तो नाजरीन, जैसा कि अजहर भाई ने आपके साथ डिस्कस किया कि IRU डिपार्टमेंट है मेंड वालों का, अगरचे कि आप में से कोई भी इस्लामोफोबिक अटैक का विक्टिम है या अगर किसी को आप जानते हैं कि जो कि पास्ट में या करंटली विक्टिम रहा हो इस्लामोफोबिया का, प्लीज़ आप जो हैं वो मेंड के IRU यूनिट को कांटेक्ट कीजिए। वहाँ पे आपको बेहतरीन सपोर्ट मिलेगी एंड इट्स ऑल फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट। एंड आई थिंक आपके पास एडवाइज़र्स भी, लीगल एडवाइज़र्स मौजूद हैं जो कि आपको एडवाइस करेंगे कि आपका जो ये स्पेसिफिक एक्शन आपके अगेंस्ट लिया गया या जो अटैक हुआ है ये किस ज़मरे के अंदर जो है वो शुमार किया जाएगा, हेट क्राइम है कि डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है कि इस्लामोफोबिया, एंड देन दे विल टेक इट फॉरवर्ड फ्रॉम देयर। तो अमरीन, आज का प्रोग्राम का जैसे आप जानती हैं कि वक्त ख़त्म हुआ जाता है। मेरे ख्याल में हमने जो है आज ज़बरदस्त किस्म का प्रोग्राम अपने नाज़रीन को दिया है। बहुत बेहतरीन इंफॉर्मेशन आपने अजहर भाई शेयर की सबके साथ। तो इंशाल्लाह नाज़रीन आपके साथ फिर अगले हफ्ते सेम टाइम मौजूद होंगे, मैं और अमरीन सहेली के सेट पे। तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़।
अल्लाह हाफिज़।
किसी की भूख मिटाती है,